All right, so this is our second example of 3.1. And again, this is an example that's related to conjunction and disjunction. And the sentence of English we're going to be translating in this example is Carla will have cake or ice cream, but not both. And so the first thing that we do, as we did in our last example, is we are looking for the atomic sentences. And so our atomic sentences, Carla will have cake or ice cream, but not both, look to be identical to our last example, right? We have Carla will have cake and our second atomic sentence is Carla will have and our second sentence is Carla will have ice cream. And these look to be our two atomic sentences. We don't see any other atomic sentences here. But not both doesn't count as an atomic sentence, or is a disjunction. And so our pure atomics seem to be Carla will have cake, and then ice cream right here is not a full sentence. But we can intuit what ice cream really there is a fragment, meaning Carla will have ice cream. Because Carla will have cake or ice cream is identical to the disjunction Carla will have cake or Carla will have ice cream. Hence why we split those two sentences in that way. All right, good. So now we have to label those two sentences with atomic letters. And so the letters we're going to use are the same as last time. We're going to use the letter C for cake. We're going to use the letter I for ice cream. Again, just to identify the most important distinct elements of those two atomic sentences. Now we want to go through and we want to identify what the connectives in this larger complex sentence are. So we pretty clearly have the connective or. That's going to be a disjunction. We have the connective but. We have the connective not. And we have the connective both. All right. So let's start left to right. So first things first, the easiest thing we can do it first is to notice how to translate Carla will have cake or ice cream. So or is just a standard old boring disjunction like this. And we know what sentences or connects. Or connects Carla will have cake, which we represent by C. And the sentence ice cream, which remember we noted was a fragment, meaning Carla will have ice cream, or I. All right, so we have cake or ice cream. And I'm going to go ahead and put those in parentheses. With the, actually, let's not quite do the parentheses yet. We're going to get to the parentheses in just a minute. And now we look to the right. So we've done or, we can check off or. Now we have to figure out this little bunch of connectives right over here, but not both. Now, not both should remind you of something. Not both should, in fact, remind you of our first sentence. Our first example we did in the last video said Carla will not have both. And that's in fact exactly what we're doing down below, right? Is we have not both. Ignore the but for a minute and just notice that there is a not both. And so not both here means Carla will not have both cake and ice cream. And so we can just crib exactly our work from the first sentence because we're just building on what we did in the first example. So we know that Carla will have cake or ice cream. That's the first half of this sentence. And then we know the second half says something like, but it's not the case, right? So it's not the case that Carla will have both cake and ice cream. All right, so now the last thing, so we've done not both over here. We've done these two. The last thing we have to deal with is this ever so important word but. And you're probably already thinking ahead of me The clever thing about but, remember, is just a word for conjunction. So but has this extra added meaning in English, but in sentential logic, all it means is a boring old conjunction. It just means a boring old wedge like that. So we know, because or comes to the left and not both comes to the right, that our conjunction is going to fit right in the middle. So our conjunction is going to fit right over here. So but means there's a conjunction right here. But notice we now have a problem. We have a whole bunch of connectives without any parentheses. This is sort of unacceptable, right? We don't know what's connecting what. And so it's really important that we have parentheses. So we have to figure out what connective has the widest scope. So we have that same question again of what has the widest scope. And so to figure out the widest scope, you're looking for the connective that connects all the smaller complex sentences. So let's go back and let's read this sentence again. The sentence we have is Carla will have cake or ice cream, but not both. Now notice that this in of itself seems to be sort of isolated, right? Carla will have not cake or ice cream. That's its own component. And then, but Carla won't have both, which is essentially what this right-hand side says. Carla won't have both is also its own component, right? So if Carla will have cake or ice cream, but Carla won't have both cake and ice cream, it looks like but right here is our widest scope connective because it connects the two parts. It connects the disjunction to the negated conjunction on the right-hand side. And so that means that if this right here, this conjunction, this one right here, is our widest scope connective, then we need parentheticals that enclose the left conjunct and the right conjunct. And so this is going to be the left conjunct. So those are the parentheses that we need on the left. And then this is the right conjunct. And so these are the parentheticals that we need on the right. Now, why do we need parentheticals around the negation? Because notice that it's not just the conjunction here that's the right-hand conjunct of this widest scope conjunction. It's the whole negated conjunction that's the right-hand conjunct. And so we put these parentheses to note that this whole negated conjunction is the right-hand conjunct, and this whole disjunction is the left-hand conjunct. All right, and so once we erase all of our things, this, in fact, looks to be our acceptable final sentence. So the last thing we have to do is check it by translating it back. And what we have here is Carla will have cake or, because notice that disjunction right here, or ice cream. And, right, because that's our conjunction there. Not is our next connective. Not both cake and ice cream. And not both cake and ice cream. And notice, importantly, this basically has the same meaning of what we had above, right? We have the exact same thing initially. Carla will have cake or ice cream. And then remember, but is identical to and in sentential logic. And instead of merely having not both, we've added cake and ice cream to the end, which is implied in the above sentence. So this is, in fact, the correct translation.